Hello, everyone. Welcome back to our podcast, Hey English. I'm Philip, and today we're going to talk about something we all have in common, our daily routines. This is a great topic because it's something everyone can relate to, and it gives us a chance to learn some useful English vocabulary and phrases.
Hi there. I'm Sarah. We'll be walking you through different parts of a typical day, from the moment we wake up to when we go to bed. As we go through each part of the day, we'll be explaining important vocabulary words, grammar points, and some fun idioms and phrases that you can use in your own conversations.
That's right, Sarah. For example, we'll talk about morning routines and explain phrases like rise and shine or bright and early. We'll also cover how to use simple present tense to describe habitual actions, like I brush my teeth or she drinks coffee.
And don't worry, we'll make sure to explain everything clearly and give you plenty of examples. Whether you're just starting to learn English or looking to improve your skills, this podcast will have something for you. Plus, it's always fun to compare how different people spend their days.
So, grab a cup of coffee or tea, sit back, and let's dive into the world of daily routines. By the end of this podcast, you'll not only have a better understanding of English, but you'll also pick up some great tips for organizing your own day.
Thanks for joining us today. We hope you find this podcast helpful and enjoyable. If you have any questions or topics you'd like us to cover in the future, be sure to leave a comment below. Now, let's get started with our daily routines.
Alright, let's go. First up, we'll talk about our morning routines. Alright, let's dive into our morning routines. Mornings can be very different for everyone, so it's always interesting to hear how people start their day. Sarah, why don't you kick us off?
Sure, Philip. So, my morning usually starts pretty early. I wake up at around 6 a.m. Here's a useful phrase, bright and early. It means waking up very early in the morning. After I wake up, the first thing I do is stretch a little. Then, I head to the bathroom to brush my teeth and wash my face.
Stretching sounds like a great way to start the day. And brushing your teeth is a good example of using the simple present tense. We use the simple present to talk about routines and habitual actions, like I brush my teeth or she brushes her teeth. Notice how we add an es to brush when we say she brushes.
Exactly. After that, I usually have a light breakfast. My favorite is yogurt with some fresh fruit. Here's a good vocabulary word, yogurt. It's a common breakfast food that's made from milk and is often eaten with fruit or honey. How about you, Philip? What's your morning like?
My morning is a bit different. I wake up around 7 a.m. I'm not exactly a morning person, so it takes me a while to get going. Here's an idiom for you, rise and shine. It's something people say to encourage someone to wake up and start their day energetically. After I get out of bed, I like to go for a quick jog. It really helps me wake up and feel ready for the day.
Jogging in the morning sounds refreshing. The phrase rise and shine is perfect for mornings. And jogging is a great way to stay healthy. After your jog, what do you do next?
After my jog, I usually take a shower and then make myself a cup of coffee. Coffee is a must for me in the morning. Here's another vocabulary word, coffee. It's a popular beverage made from roasted coffee beans. We often use the simple present tense to talk about these daily actions, like I drink coffee every morning.
Coffee is definitely a morning essential for many people. After breakfast, I like to spend a few minutes planning my day. I make a to-do list of all the tasks I need to accomplish. This helps me stay organized and focused.
That's a great habit. Planning your day can really set you up for success. So, to sum up, we've covered some key vocabulary like yogurt, coffee, and phrases like bright and early and rise and shine. Plus, we've talked about the simple present tense for describing habitual actions.
Yes, and remember, the simple present tense is used for routines and habits. For example, I wake up at 6 a.m. and he drinks coffee every morning. It's a very useful tense to master when talking about your daily activities.
Absolutely. Now that we've shared our morning routines, we'd love to hear about yours. Share your morning routine in the comments below using some of the vocabulary and grammar points we've discussed. Now that we've covered our morning routines, let's move on to what we do during the day. This could be work, school, or other activities. Sarah, why don't you start by telling us about your work routine?
Sure, Philip. So, after my morning routine, I start my workday at around 9 a.m. I work from home, so my commute is just a few steps to my home office. Here's a vocabulary word: commute. It means the journey from home to work or school. Since I work from home, my commute is very short.
That's convenient. I have a longer commute. I take the bus to my office, which takes about 30 minutes. Speaking of which, let's talk about the present continuous tense. We use it to describe actions happening right now or around the current time. For example, I am taking the bus to work describes what I'm doing currently.
Exactly. Once I start working, I usually have a few meetings in the morning. Meetings are a big part of my day. Here's another vocabulary word: meeting. It's a gathering of people for discussion. In the present continuous tense, I might say, I am attending a meeting. How about you, Philip? What's your work routine like once you get to the office?
Once I arrive at the office, I check my emails and plan out my tasks for the day. Here's an idiom for you: hit the ground running. It means to start something and proceed at a fast pace with enthusiasm. So, I hit the ground running by tackling my most important tasks first.
That's a great idiom. After my meetings, I usually work on my projects. This involves a lot of writing and research. Sometimes, I need to collaborate with my colleagues. Collaborate is a useful vocabulary word that means to work together with others on a project. What do you usually do after handling your emails, Philip?
I spend a lot of time working on presentations and reports. Here's a useful phrase: burning the midnight oil. It means working late into the night. Sometimes I find myself burning the midnight oil to meet deadlines.
Deadlines can definitely keep you busy. After working on my projects, I usually take a break for lunch around noon. This is a good time to recharge and prepare for the afternoon. Do you have a specific lunch routine, Philip?
I do. I usually have lunch with my colleagues at a nearby cafe. It's a nice break from the office environment. During lunch, we often discuss work, but it's also a chance to relax and socialize. Here's another idiom: take a breather, which means to take a short break to relax.
Lunch breaks are so important for staying productive. After lunch, I continue with my work, often joining more meetings or working on additional tasks. I like to end my workday by organizing my desk and making a to-do list for the next day. How do you wrap up your day, Philip?
I usually finish my work around 5 p.m. Before I leave the office, I review my tasks to make sure everything is completed. Here's a phrase we can use: call it a day, which means to stop working for the day. I call it a day and head home to relax.
So, to recap, we've discussed some key vocabulary like commute, meeting, collaborate, and phrases like hit the ground running, burning the midnight oil, and take a breather. Plus, we've highlighted the present continuous tense for actions happening now, like I am working or she is attending a meeting.
Exactly. And we'd love to hear about your work or school routines. Share them in the comments below using some of the vocabulary and grammar points we've discussed.
Next, we'll talk about what we do in the afternoon, whether it's running errands, exercising, or relaxing.
Now that we've covered our work and school routines, let's talk about what we do in the afternoon. Afternoons can be a mix of activities, so it's always interesting to see how people spend this part of their day. Sarah, what does your typical afternoon look like?
After lunch, I usually dive back into work for a bit. But around 3 p.m., I like to take a short break to recharge. Here's a great idiom: take a breather. It means to take a short break to relax. During this time, I might go for a quick walk or grab a snack. How about you, Philip?
My afternoons are pretty busy. After lunch, I often have a few meetings or work on important projects. However, I also make sure to take a break. It's important to avoid burnout, which is when you feel extremely tired or stressed because of overworking. Do you have any specific activities you do during your breaks, Sarah?
Yes, I do. Sometimes, I run errands in the afternoon. Errands are short trips to do things like shopping, picking up dry cleaning, or going to the post office. For example, I might say, I am running errands this afternoon. What about you, Philip? Do you run errands in the afternoon too?
Occasionally, but I usually save that for the weekends. In the afternoon, I like to get some exercise. It helps me stay focused and energetic. I might say, I am going to the gym. Using the present continuous tense here emphasizes that it's a planned activity happening in the near future. Exercise is definitely a great way to break up the day.
Absolutely. Exercise is a great idea. Another thing I sometimes do is take a power nap. This is a short sleep that helps you feel more awake and energized. Power naps are usually about 15 to 20 minutes long and can make a big difference in how you feel for the rest of the day.
Power naps are fantastic. I should try that more often. In the afternoons, I also like to catch up on any remaining tasks or emails. It's a good way to ensure everything is on track before the end of the workday. Here's another useful phrase: catch up on. It means to do something you have not been able to do until now. For example, I need to catch up on my emails.
So, to summarize, we've covered a lot of useful vocabulary and phrases for the afternoon, like take a breather, burnout, run errands, power nap, and catch up on. Plus, we've seen the present continuous tense in action, like I am running errands or I am going to the gym. Next, we'll dive into our evening routines, where we unwind and relax after a busy day.
Now, it's time to talk about how we wind down in the evening. Evenings can be a time to relax, spend time with family, or catch up on hobbies. Sarah, what does your typical evening look like?
In the evenings, I like to start by preparing dinner around 6 p.m. Cooking is one of my favorite activities because it helps me relax after a long day. Here's a vocabulary word: unwind. It means to relax after a period of work or stress. Cooking really helps me unwind. What about you, Philip?
I totally agree. Cooking is a great way to unwind. After dinner, I usually spend some time catching up with my family. This is a good time to use the present perfect tense to talk about experiences up to now. For example, I have talked to my family about our plans for the weekend. It's a nice way to stay connected. What do you do after dinner, Sarah?
After dinner, I like to spend some time on my hobbies. I enjoy reading and sometimes I watch a movie. Reading is great for learning new vocabulary. For example, I might come across a word like serene, which means calm and peaceful. How do you spend your evenings, Philip?
I love reading too. But I also enjoy going for a walk in the evening. It's a great way to clear my mind and get some fresh air. Here's a useful phrase: call it a day. It means to stop working for the day. So, after my walk, I usually call it a day and start winding down for bed.
That's a great routine. After my hobbies, I like to prepare for the next day. I make a to-do list and organize my things. This helps me feel ready for the day ahead. Here's an idiom: hit the sack, which means to go to bed. By around 10 p.m., I'm ready to hit the sack. How do you get ready for bed, Philip?
Preparing for the next day is a smart idea. I usually spend the last part of my evening relaxing. I might watch a bit of TV or listen to some music. Music is a great way to relax. Then, I brush my teeth and get ready for bed. Here's another phrase: wind down, which means to gradually relax before going to sleep. By around 10:30 p.m., I'm ready to wind down and go to sleep.
So, to recap, we've discussed some useful vocabulary and phrases for the evening, like unwind, serene, call it a day, hit the sack, and wind down. Plus, we've highlighted the present perfect tense to talk about experiences, like I have talked to my family. In our final segment, we'll talk about how our weekends are different from weekdays and some fun activities we enjoy.
Weekends can be a mix of relaxation and fun activities. Sarah, what do your weekends typically look like?
My weekends are a bit different from my weekdays. I usually sleep in a little later to catch up on rest. Here's an idiom: sleep in. It means to sleep later than usual. After I wake up, I like to have a leisurely breakfast, sometimes with pancakes or waffles. How about you, Philip?
That sounds great. I love sleeping in on weekends too. After a relaxed breakfast, I often go for a hike or spend some time outdoors. Hike is a good vocabulary word that means a long walk, especially in nature. It's a great way to enjoy the fresh air and get some exercise. Do you have any special activities you like to do on weekends, Sarah?
Yes, I enjoy visiting local markets or going to a cafe with friends. It's a nice way to unwind and socialize. Here's a useful phrase, catch up with. It means to spend time with someone and learn what has happened in their life. So, I might say, I catch up with friends at the cafe. What do you do in the afternoon, Philip?
In the afternoons, I often spend time working on personal projects or hobbies. I like to play guitar and sometimes even write some music. Playing guitar is very relaxing for me. Another good phrase is take it easy, which means to relax and not do anything too strenuous. How do you spend your Saturday afternoons, Sarah?
Saturday afternoons are perfect for doing something fun, like going to the beach or having a picnic. A picnic is a meal you take to eat outside, usually in a park. It's a great way to enjoy the nice weather. In the evening, I like to watch a movie or read a book to wind down. What about you, Philip? How do you end your weekends?
I usually have a family dinner on Sunday evenings. It's a tradition for us to gather and enjoy a meal together. Here's an idiom for you, quality time. It means spending time with someone in a meaningful way. After dinner, I prepare for the upcoming week, making sure everything is in order.
Family dinners are such a nice tradition. To recap, we've discussed some useful vocabulary and phrases for the weekend, like sleep in, hike, catch up with, take it easy, and quality time. Plus, we've highlighted some idioms and their meanings. Exactly. And we'd love to hear about your weekend routines. Share them in the comments below using some of the vocabulary and grammar points we've discussed. We hope you've enjoyed learning about our daily and weekend routines. Remember to practice using these new words and phrases in your own conversations.
We've had a great time sharing our daily and weekend routines with you. We hope you've enjoyed learning with us and picked up some useful English vocabulary, idioms, and grammar tips along the way.
That's right, Philip. Let's quickly recap some of the key points we've covered. We talked about morning routines and phrases like rise and shine and bright and early. We explained the simple present tense for habits and routines, like I brush my teeth or she drinks coffee.
Then we moved on to our work and school routines, using vocabulary like commute and meeting, and phrases like hit the ground running. We also discussed the present continuous tense for actions happening now or around the current time, like I am taking the bus to work.
For our afternoon routines, we highlighted phrases like take a breather and burnout, and vocabulary such as errands and power nap. We also talked about using the present continuous for planned activities, like I am going to the gym.
In the evenings, we mentioned idioms like call it a day and hit the sack, and vocabulary like unwind and serene. We used the present perfect tense to talk about experiences, like I have talked to my family.
And finally, for our weekends, we introduced phrases like sleep in and catch up with, and idioms like quality time. We hope these examples help you in your own English conversations.
Remember, practicing these new words and phrases in your daily life is key to improving your English. Don't hesitate to share your routines and practice with friends or in the comments below.
Thank you so much for joining us today. If you enjoyed this podcast, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss our next episode. We look forward to seeing you again soon.
Yes, thank you. Have a great day, everyone, and keep practicing your English. See you next time.